This is the heartbeat of human services, a peek into the inspiring stories of our community and all things DHS. Join us.
Hey everybody, I'm your co-host Allison Votov for the Heartbeat of Human Services podcast. And I'm joined by Jennifer Meyer, and she is a Human Services Program Specialist here at DHS. I'm going to ask her a few questions. I want to let her introduce herself and what her role is here at DHS.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jennifer Meyer. I'm a program specialist in the Assistant Director's Office for Child Protective Services. My role within the department is the development and implementation of various state and federal initiatives and projects for our bureau.
And if you were to break that down for the public, what would that mean?
So we work on the things kind of behind the scenes where our social workers work in person with children and families, doing the really important work hands-on in the community.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes as far as different projects that the state has taken on or the federal government has taken on. And so we kind of make sure those things happen. We look at how we can improve our system as a whole. We look at different ways that we can help support our staff. And then we look at different ways that we can bring in new ideas and fresh perspectives of how to best help children and families. So that's what my role is within the department.
And so this month is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And with that, we kind of want to cover what our county is doing, because here in outreach, we hear about it all the time, but we know that some of our employees and even, the public doesn't know what's going on. So first, I want you to explain FFPSA and how that relates to, child abuse prevention, and then what our county is doing as a whole to help with the prevention of child abuse.
So FFPSA, it's a mouthful, but what it stands for is the Family First Prevention Services Act. It's a federal initiative that was passed in 2018, and California is now working on actually developing and implementing this act. So when we talk about prevention services, it's really part one that we're focused on. There's multiple parts to this act. What we've done here in California is we've taken the requirements from the federal legislation and they've worked to actually expand them to include a full spectrum of prevention services. We're currently working on our required plan to be able to participate in this initiative here in Kern County. And we're working and teaming with local agencies, community partners, parents, youth, everyone who'd like to be involved with the process of speaking to what they would like to see for prevention in Kern County, to develop a comprehensive plan so that we can improve and expand the services we do have available for children and families in Kern.
And what do those prevention services look like?
So FFPSA, it's really the evolution of prevention. So for the first time, we're going to be able to access federal funding to support prevention services. So our goal is overall to reduce and someday hopefully eliminate child maltreatment in Kern County. This initiative gives us the ability to build a system of care with our existing and to bring in new prevention services to prevent children from having to come into foster care. And if they do have to come into foster care, once they return home, to prevent them from ever re-entering foster care. So we do that in a variety of ways. We look at prevention on a spectrum. We look at it in the idea that there's a primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention spectrum. Primary is really open to the entire general public. If a family is struggling, being able to buy food, we've got services that can help them with that. If they're struggling with housing instability, we have services to help them with that. Finding childcare, transportation, that's something that everyone at some point in the community may need to access.
Okay.
So that's what we consider primary. Secondary is really when those needs have escalated. They may have been unmet and now they've kind of piled up and a family is really struggling in a variety of areas and they may have already come to the attention of child welfare. There's a lot of risk factors, but maybe not major safety concerns. And then tertiary is when they are fully involved with child welfare services. There are safety concerns happening now within that family due to unmet needs. And we provide them services at that level, again, to kind of prevent future maltreatment. So that's the spectrum we look at as far as prevention goes. And our goal is with FFPSA is to either strengthen, expand, or to bring in completely new prevention services. So one of those initiatives is what's called Parents as Teachers. Parents as Teachers is an in-home education program, skill-based for parents and families. It's for children who are families, that have children that are from the ages of 0 to kindergarten. And part of the reason why we selected that is that when we looked at the data for Kern County, the children who are most at risk of child maltreatment are children ages 0 to 5. So this was a perfect fit to really look at those families where we're seeing maltreatment and to target them to help find ways that we can address the maltreatment and strengthen that family to prevent future maltreatment. Currently, we are partnered with our Child Abuse Prevention Council, the Kern County Network for Children, to develop and implement some of the strategies for prevention countywide. And they are overseeing the piloting of Parents as Teachers with our community partner, Child Guidance. And they are providing these services currently to families who have reunified and their children have returned home from foster care. We're trying to help them address issues before they become major concerns so that we can support them through the difficult time of a child returning home. There's a lot of trauma that's coming along with that and a lot of difficulty in finding the best way to function once again as a family. So that's where Parents as Teachers is coming in to help those families. By the end of 2023, our goal is to have this also be offered as a prevention service countywide for families that are whose children have not come into the foster care system to try to prevent them from entering foster care. So that will be the next stage of that implementation. Overall, we would like to prevent and divert as many children as possible from coming into foster care so they can remain home with their family in a safe and stable environment.
I'm your co-host Antoinette, and I'm interrupting today's podcast to highlight a special opportunity on behalf of our JobFest team. JobFest TAP is happening on May 4th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. For more information, head to jobfestkern.com. If you'd like to join our team here at DHS, head to kerncounty.com under the Careers tab. Thank you for listening, and now back to the podcast.
And I'm guessing some of these programs are going to be part of our differential response that we already have currently with our partners, correct?
So differential response is another one of the programs that the Kern County Network for Children partners with us to oversee. And our goal with differential response is very similar in the prevention sense that if a family comes into contact with CPS and we recognize that there's some things the family needs to be able to address and to help strengthen them, we can offer them differential response services. Those are countywide. The family and the agency providing the services, they're diverted from child welfare altogether. They're working directly with a case manager in their community to help them with whatever need they might have, so that way we can hopefully address those issues and we can no longer be involved with their lives. That's our goal overall. Other services they offer countywide to our families through Kern County Network for Children that we partner with are parent education programs and various outreach campaigns to make the community more aware about issues that we might have. I think everyone's seen safe sleeping campaigns and water safety campaigns. And a lot of those things are things that we've recognized are a major problem in Kern County. And so there's been efforts to try to reduce them through some of the initiatives that they have through Kern County Network for Children.
So kind of going back to FFPSA a little bit, I want to talk about the prevention first mindset and how that relates to how we are communicating with our social workers and kind of bringing that to the forefront of our social workers when we're thinking about prevention.
Absolutely. It's all about mindset when you are working with families. Every family has strengths. Every family has things that are working well for them and that they've been successful in. So the idea of focusing on prevention is looking for what those strengths are and how do we build upon those to address where there may be areas that we're worried about. So when we're looking at prevention, ultimately, we want to have less children involved in child welfare. And the less children that we do have in child welfare, the ability then for our social workers is to really focus on the families we do have to have here, to really provide those intensive services that family needs to become successful. So we can hopefully address those families where there's concerns and there's issues, but we can address them through different prevention services rather than their involvement with child welfare. We recognize how difficult that is for a family and how traumatic that might be for a child or for a parent. So our goal is to really reduce that as much as possible through offering more services.
And if you currently work here at DHS and you are a social worker, what would you recommend to them to learn more about some of the upcoming prevention initiatives and the prevention first mindset?
So we're putting out some campaigns internally here at DHS so people are aware of them. But ultimately, what we want to do is whenever we have a social worker working with a family, looking at what that family might need that another agency might be providing and bring them in. The more that we team to provide services to our families, it makes them more successful in the long run, because when we exit their lives, there's other things in place that will help them when there's a difficulty. They know how to navigate a system. They have that support around them to be able to deal with real life as it happens. And that happens to all of us. We all struggle. We all have difficulties. And so just really building upon that for a family so they feel that support from the community.
So we've covered, what we as DHS are doing and how our social workers can have this prevention first mindset. And let's kind of move over to the community. What can a community member that might not be a part of, DHS or any of our partners, what can they do to help prevent child abuse in Kern County?
Well, it really takes all of us to be able to address child abuse in Kern County. So if you're a community member who has a concern for a child or a family, please don't hesitate to call our 24-hour hotline. The number is 661-631-6011. I think a lot of people are sometimes concerned about calling because they don't want to accuse someone of terrible things or think the worst of a family. But what our hotline is really there for is to help provide resources to a family and to the community. And in those situations where it's required, then we respond and we go out and we see whether or not there's a safety concern, because ultimately our number one mandate is to keep children safe. So we have the ability to help families, link them to other agencies, other resources, or just provide basic information to kind of help get them on the right path. We also, there's a system that's statewide that has a local response system called FFPSA. It's the Family Urgent Response System. You can find that number online anywhere. And this is really for our caretakers of current and former foster youth. So anyone who's helping care for a child, including the parents, once the child's returned home, they can call that 24-hour hotline, and they're available for in-person response for any kind of stabilization or aftercare services a family might need. So again, I just want to encourage community members to be a part of that process. If your neighbor has a need that you see, trying to help them with that. The more that we come together as a community, the more that we're going to be able to help eliminate child abuse in Kern County.
Awesome. And if they maybe wanted to get involved in the future in helping to prevent child abuse, how would you promote that?
So one of the parts of FFPSA that we've brought in is we have developed a new community well-being group. It's called Kern Cares, and we meet the third Friday of every month. It's a stakeholder group that includes feedback from community voice with parents and youth, from various agencies all throughout Kern County, from every level of prevention services to services that a child or family might be involved with. And our goal is in that group is to oversee the prevention plan that we develop, to look for further opportunities for outreach, and to really look at what else we can do. How can we partner together? How can we look at the various initiatives that we're working on and put them together so that we can support each other in this work and make it as easy as possible for a family to be able to get what they need early on when they're struggling or having difficulty.
Okay, and if they wanted to reach out for more information about CARES, how can they do that?
They could reach out to me directly if they're interested in doing that. We can include my email address on that. I can go ahead and spell it out for you guys. It's Glenn, GLENNJ, @kerndhs.com. We also will have flyers up. We're going to be doing a lot of outreach. So we're really hopeful that you will be seeing more of that soon in your local markets, maybe on a bus, maybe on a billboard, that this will become so commonplace that the idea of prevention and support for families is everywhere in Kern County, and that we're all a part of that process.
Perfect. So I am really excited about CARES. I know that our team has been really excited about being a part of it, and some of the people who might have attended some of the FFPSA meetings in the past have learned a lot about other agencies already, and just blown away by all the resources that we already have here in the county that a lot of people don't know of. And the hope for this is that now our community will know about those resources as well. Because if we didn't even know about them, we know that our community didn't know about them too.
Absolutely.
So kind of our last question for today is, what would you like the community to know about prevention?
I would just like for them to know, again, that prevention really requires the whole community. It might be your neighbor, your friend, your cousin, your daughter. We're all struggling at some point as a family, and to look at it in the way that they just need a little help. They just need someone to recognize that, provide that extra level of support, and to look at the strengths in that family, recognize when they're struggling, recognize their strengths, and help get them to the agencies that can provide those services in the easiest and most accessible way possible for that family to become successful again. We're all just those few steps away sometimes from being at our best. And so how can we make sure that those are available for our families in Kern County, our families know about them, and that we can help get them there?
Perfect. I think you said it correctly. It's okay to need help and to ask for it. And, we'd rather help you now than have to help you later. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today, Jennifer. We really appreciate it. And for those of you listening, we're going to have other child abuse prevention podcasts for the rest of the month. So keep an ear out for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm your co-host, Paola Hernandez, and welcome to today's Mindful Minute, where we will be discussing the beauty of following routines. A sleep routine, exercise routine, read a book before bed routine. These small daily practices help lower stress levels and form healthy habits. But the benefits that stand out to me the most are the routines that can help fight against depression. People who deal with depression tend to withdraw from activities and people who bring them joy. By planning and creating a routine, you are taking positive steps to change that behavior. So start small or big and pick, set, and stick to a routine that brings you joy. This has been your Mindful Minute.
Thank you for joining us for the Heartbeat of Human Services podcast today. We hope you'll join us next time.